Okay, I think I'm ready when you guys are.
Okay, we are live.
Okay, we're ready to call this meeting to order.
Tucker Whitman,
Here.
Andy Dennison,
Present.
Len Vitale,
Present.
Chris Petras,
Here.
Paul Pinkney.
Here.
Thanks, Paul. Keith Batman,
Here.
Hans Fletcher,
Here.
Mark Strong,
Here.
Heidi Nightingale,
Present.
Elaine Daly,
Here.
Tricia Kerr,
Here.
Tim Lattimore,
Here.
Michael Video, Mike Video, is he on?
Here.
Yeah. Thank you. Ryan Foley,
Present.
Elise Matt Coleman.
Present. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of America,
The United States Republic,
nation,
one nation, under indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
I'm going to take a moment of silence here. Thank you.
Our sincere condolences to the family and friends of Howard Cuddeback, father of Stephen Cuddeback, former legislator District 9 and chairman 2012. Heidi Nightingale, father of legislator Heidi Nightingale, Robert Nightingale, pardon me. Dale C. Parmley, former legislator District 10, 1977 through 1985, and chairman 1981 through 1984.
Thank you. Tonight we have, I'm opening a public hearing on the local law amending the salary of the Director of Public Health. We have asked that if you would have some information you'd like to share with this body, I'm going to give you a number that you can call in, and we will put you in a queue and order you and take your comments, I guess, in the order that we receive them. I'm going to give you the number. It is located here on your screen. It's 315-294-8051. So I officially opened the public hearing at 6:08.
Proclamations honoring World War II Army veteran on his 100th birthday, February 9th, 2021. Honoring Public Works Department employees, February 23rd, 2021.
Okay. So we have a presentation. It's a continuation of a presentation. Mr. Botar, the Executive Director of CNY Regional Planning and Development Board, did a presentation at committee this month. And I've asked him to come back to present to the entire body about continued broadband connectivity in our county. And Dave Botar, are you there this evening?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the full legislature. As the chair just indicated, I did a presentation regarding a proposed broadband study that we're actually undertaking in Central New York. I presented to the Legislative Planning Committee back on February 9th. And what I'll do this evening is just summarize that presentation. I think most of you know who we are, the Central New York Regional Planning Board. We serve a 5-county area here in Central New York with our 5-member counties, including Cayuga County. We're engaged in a whole range of activities, project development work, special purpose studies. I think we've spoken with many of you regarding some of our energy initiatives. Broadband is a topic that has certainly been on our radar screen, as I know it is on yours for many years now, particularly the availability of broadband service in rural parts of our region. That's an issue that we hear, certainly here in my office, from folks like yourselves, legislative representatives throughout the 5-county area, that there are parts of our region that do not have any broadband service at all. If they have it, it might be limited to satellite service, which can be very expensive to secure adequate level of service. And so we've been looking for a number of years for an opportunity to try to assist our counties, to assist Cayuga County in taking steps to maybe address that problem. And this year, last year, we received a federal grant from the Federal Economic Development Administration, which gave us some flexible funding to fund a number of special purpose studies related to economic development in this region. And clearly broadband is an issue that affects, all levels of life, in the home, in the school, and certainly the business community. So I reached out to my board of directors, several of you who serve on our board, and presented to our executive committee the idea of doing a broadband study for Central New York. And we decided to go ahead with that study last summer, issued a request for proposals, and hired a company based in Rochester, ECC Technologies, which specializes in broadband infrastructure, both from a community planning standpoint, but also from an engineering and technology deployment standpoint. So they have a lot of experience. We worked with ECC Technologies years ago on a very high level broadband study for this region back in 2003 and 2004. And we've stayed in touch with this company over the years, followed their work. They've done some very good work over in Madison County and over in Yates County, and also down in the southern tier over the Corning community area. So we felt they have a very good approach to assessing broadband service, particularly the assessment for rural areas. So we went ahead and employed them, signed a contract in December of 2020. They actually began some of the work on this project in November of 2020. And the scope of work for the project is shown on your screen. It involves several key categories. An initial part of the study is actually to give all of us what we think will be some helpful background information what's going on in the telecommunication broadband industry today, just from a high level standpoint.
How much different?
But also looking at what the state of New York has done with their new New York broadband program, the $500 million that they spent.
Right.
So that's the first part of the study. The second part of the study is, as I mentioned again weeks ago, is they actually put people in the field, literally in a car, driving all of the major roads, in this case in Cayuga County, outside of urban city of Auburn, which already has broadband service. So they have two people in a car, and they take a physical inventory simply by looking at primarily the telephone poles and the lines that are strung along those poles, and they can tell where the coaxial cable is, the spectrum coaxial cable in most cases. If there is fiber where the fiber has been hung, a lot of that is visible to the naked eye. And so they drive all of the roads, they collect this information, and then they map it on a GIS map that we will have a chance to review with you, and certainly with Steve Lynch as your county planning director. That gives us a pretty good idea of where there are gaps in broadband internet service in Cayuga County. But that's really sort of the first part, or I guess we could say the second part of the study. The other element that they do is a community survey. So they establish a website, and then they look to work with us, the Regional Planning Board, and with you, Cayuga County, to help push out into the community a survey to give residents and businesses an opportunity to comment on the level of internet service they have now, if they have any at all, and what problems they have with that service. So this survey, again, it is posted or hosted on a website that ECC Technology establishes. But clearly, to get citizens, residents to participate in the campaign, there needs to be a lot of public outreach, and that's where each county plays a critical role in this surveys process, and each legislator getting word out into their community that we're conducting the survey. Clearly, if we're talking about areas that don't have or have inadequate internet service, we can't just post this survey online and expect people to find their way to the site. So there has to be outreach in the community in the form of the placement of flyers, making available the survey, hard copies of the survey itself, posting public service notices, all of the kinds of things that you would want to do if you're trying to draw the public's attention to the survey. Now, this survey it really is a key part of ECC's work. We will have the physical inventory, but what the survey will do, the information actually gets geocoded, so it gets plotted on a map of the county. And we can see, by looking at the map, where there are residents who perhaps don't have any internet service today. It's not out on the telephone poles right now. And they would like service. So what you're doing is identifying potential customers for an improved broadband system in Cayuga County. So then what ECC does is they take the physical inventory and they take the community survey and they put together a high-level capital plan. Where do you need to extend internet service in your county? Specifically by which road and along, a certain course along each road. So they build out that capital plan and they put a cost estimate to it. And then they combine that information with the identification of potential customers. And at this point, you can see what you would have is the makings of a business plan. So it might cost, let's say, $10 million to build out a broadband system to address the underserved or areas in the county without service at all. And here you have a potential of, let's say, 1,000 new customers. And this is the rate people would be willing to pay for internet service. And obviously then you can identify your revenue stream and how much debt service the project could support. All of that gets packaged together and will be presented to Cayuga County, to you, by ECC Technologies in a half-day forum. So there will be plenty of opportunity to hear the presentation and understand the information. The last piece that is so critical here is ECC has represented, and we have certainly followed up on our end, and identified several federal programs, particularly the USDA Reconnect program, as a potential source of significant grant money that could be used to underwrite the cost of improving broadband service, in this case in Cayuga County. This study, the information in this study, the way it is structured, in the study would be a critical element to putting together a competitive application for a USDA grant. So down the road, so the study we intend to launch the community survey April 1st. ECC will be in Cayuga County starting next week doing the inventory. The survey will be up for 3 months, so that takes us to the end of June. We should have their draft report in July or August, which we'll be presenting it to you. So by September of this year, you could be in a position, if you wanted to pursue it, to pursue federal funds to support improving broadband in Cayuga County. Certainly ECC, if you follow the literature, what's going on in Washington, there's a lot of talk about infrastructure going forward. And in today's world, improving infrastructure includes improving broadband. My guess is there will be significantly more money coming down from Congress in the next fiscal year to support broadband improvements in central New York. And by having this study done, we'll be in a position to submit a competitive application. So that's a quick summary. I'd be glad to take any questions you might have or to try to provide a little bit more explanation.
Thank you, Dave. And I do have a few questions. I believe Mr. Latimer would like to start us off.
Dave, nice presentation. We do have to have these upgrades. As you know, we put in 700 miles of new cable with New Vision. I think you're familiar with Garmin and Syracuse, Yanka. Now, most of the new wire we put in was underground. Are we planning on putting it underground or on poles? Because, you know, Texas just had an issue, and, you know, I think you're old enough to remember the ice storm that we had up here, which ruined most of the towers, the power towers. So is underground part of the study?
Well, Tim, you weren't supposed to bring up my age, but I certainly do remember the ice storm. That'll be part of, as we get into, once they complete the inventory and the community survey and they start putting together the capital plan, my expectation is they'll put together several options, an above ground option and a buried option. Clearly the buried option costs a lot more, but if we're in a situation where there's adequate federal grant funds available, then clearly that would be the best solution from a long-term perspective, no question about it. So I think we'll have a look at both approaches.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up next, we have Tucker Whitman, and we'll follow that by Andy Dennison. Okay, Tucker?
It's great to get some federal funding for this. I mean, yeah. Can you hear me?
Well, you're breaking up. Maybe I lose you.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear us? Actually, so we'll come back to Tucker. We'll go next to Legislator Dennison.
Yeah, two things. One, I was just curious how Cuomo's veto or whatever it was on the doing a study of where we are in this process of getting broadband into the rural areas and whatnot. And on what Tim said, up here we have spectrum already, and where there's no poles, they go underground. Where there's poles, they go above ground. But if you lose your power, you lose your internet anyhow. So even here on the farm, when we hook the generator up, we still don't have internet until actual power comes back, not power that we're making. So I don't know whether it's different somewhere else or different with underground.
I don't have that level of technical knowledge. That certainly would be the type of question that ECC could answer very easily. So I'll put that. I'm in touch with them every week, and I'll be sure to ask that question. They've designed many systems here in upstate New York, and they're actually very active down in North Carolina. So I'm sure they're familiar with the issue you're talking about. I'm curious, like you are, what are the solutions, how to address that issue when power is out?
Okay, up next we have Legislator Daley. You're on mute. Elaine, you're on mute.
The East, okay.
Oh.
Okay, now it's better. Just to make sure I'm understanding this, the ECC technology that is coming to bear to do this inventory and this survey, this is all being made available to help rural counties like ours take that first step, because without this first step, the federal funds, there's no basis to apply for funding because you don't have your needs identified. Is that how this is going to work?
I think you've hit the nail right on the head. Certainly counties will be eligible to apply for the federal funds, but absent a study like this, you won't have a competitive application. So that's why we feel the timing couldn't be better. We got this infusion of federal funds, so we're able to pay for the study, and the study will be completed just about when I think the federal funds will start being announced. But yes, you have to have this information. You have to be able to demonstrate and document to the federal agency, in this case USDA, exactly what your situation is now and where you have gaps in your service in the county. And what we've learned, I think we've all seen over the last, say, 5 years, the mapping and the data that's available from the Federal Communications Commission and from the state of New York is not adequate, and it's incomplete. It presents an inaccurate picture about internet service in rural areas. So this will close that knowledge gap and put the county in a competitive position for funding. Go ahead.
The county will have this information. It will be the county's responsibility to apply for these federal funds and then be like the lead agency. Is that how this will work? That's the role of the county after that?
Yeah, that'll be part of the business plan that ECC presents to the county. There's a number of different options for how to move forward. So, one, who would be the applicant for the grant, for the federal grant? Most likely, Cayuga County would be the appropriate applicant. But then you get into questions of who is going to actually own the internet fiber that is built out, and who's going to operate it. And there's two basic models right now. One, where the county gets into the telecommunication business and owns and operates the system. That's very ambitious. A more practical model, I believe, and ECC advocates, is where the county may own the fiber, but hire a third-party operator to operate and maintain, do the whole billing system. That's the model that Madison County is pursuing right now.
Yeah.
So ECC did this identical study for Madison County in 2018 and 2019. And they're waiting on a a USDA grant award right now. They're in competition for the grant award. The system that they propose to build out in Madison County would cost around $17 million. Obviously, that's a very big number. The grant application is for $12 million. So obviously that would underwrite a significant cost.
Yep.
And then the balance, the county, Madison County, would actually bond for the $5 million and pay off the bond from the user fees from the customers who sign up for the internet service. So that's I think, a more manageable business model. But what ECC will present to you is 2 or 3 models for you to consider. And then you would pick one of them, and that would be the basis for your application for federal funds. The last component of this contract we have with ECC and the federal grant we have to pay for them, we have money in the grant set aside. So if Cayuga County wants to apply for a USDA Reconnect application, and these are very difficult applications to prepare, we have funds in our grant to pay ECC to prepare that application on your behalf. And so that would be a decision you'll have to make once the study is done. So we're months away from that point.
Thank you.
Okay, Legislator Whitman, are you back?
Maybe. Can you hear me?
There you are. We can hear you.
This is what happens when you don't have any internet. Obviously, we need to do something. I'm glad to see that there's some federal funding. New York State started their broadband initiative a few years back to try and cover some of the state with service. And some of the problems we've run into in the county is that's all well and good, but if fiber doesn't actually ever get hooked up, we don't have internet. So I would hope that however this is structured, that there's some follow through, that it actually happens and it's not just a dream.
Well, I certainly share that. While we're a planning organization, we also have planning and development, and we certainly want to structure this whole initiative so that the county will have the necessary information to make a decision, and 2, so that the county can actually receive the grant funds it would need to literally build the system out. Clearly what the state did was a big step forward. They spent $500 million and improved internet service in upstate New York significantly. But as I think many of you know, part of the solution for some of the really rural areas in upstate, and we certainly have that in all 5 counties in central New York, the solution was satellite service, HughesNet. And that's simply not a satisfactory solution for homeowners and small businesses. So, you got to have the physical infrastructure built out in your county to close the gaps. And that's what we want to achieve.
Thank you. We have Legislator Kerr.
Yeah. Hi, Dave. I just had a quick question, and I'm excited about this study. I'm glad to see it rolling out. I think it's the right stop at the right time to position us to go after some of those USDA funds, which hopefully this fall we'll be able to access. I guess my question was related to that. With this Reconnect application, is that an existing program, and is there a required match on that? Or you mentioned Madison County's got a $5 million contribution. Is that a required contribution, or how does that program match work?
Yes, it is an existing program. Right now it's set up as 75% federal money, 25% local match. What we're hearing is The next round of Reconnect will probably have a lower match requirement in the 10 to 15% category. So they're going to try to make it, more affordable to the applicants. But again, in the case of Madison County, that's what they're proposing to build out. $17 million. I was very surprised that in Madison County they have a board of supervisors, but once they reviewed the study and reviewed the business plan, there was very strong support amongst, I don't know what the vote was, but it was very strong support among most, if not all, of the supervisors to go ahead with the project with their commitment of the $5 million. Now, there's no question, however you structure it in terms of what the local match is, if you're dependent upon or anticipating revenue from new customers signing up, there's a risk. There's a market risk to that issue. ECC feels that's where the community survey is so critical, and where we really need Cayuga County's assistance in rolling out that community survey. As I said initially, ECC will set up the website. We can coordinate and do some work out of my office in terms of getting templates ready, but marketing material ready. But we don't know Cayuga County like you know Cayuga County. And we're going to need the help of Steve's office. If you have a public affairs representative, public relations, what's the best way to market this program? I don't want to try to make those decisions here in Syracuse. That's not the best way to get community engagement. We'll provide the staff resources, but we need your direction and guidance.
Okay, we have Mr. Batman and followed by Mr. Dennison.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest that the this all does look promising. Everyone thinks it's promising. Everyone is speaking positively. I think we may be getting ahead of ourselves. The proposal here is a study, that requires some of our commitment in terms of getting the word out and so on. But what comes after this is a whole separate issue, and we may want to just focus on the. I'm not sure if any action is even required of us, other than to say, great, we need this study, we need to know what the reality is, let's move ahead, get that information, and then we can decide where we need to go with it. I don't think speculation on what we might or might not be able to do in the future is productive at this point, because we don't even have the base data.
I agree completely. Clearly, the county would have to digest a fair amount of information. You will have certainly plenty of opportunity to interact with ECC Technologies. I'm sure we'll be able to bring in the folks from Madison County and Yates County who are much further along the way, and just give you the benefit of what the study tells us, what ECC knows, what other counties are doing. But what if any decision will be made down the road is it's way premature at this point. I agree completely.
Before we have our last comment, I have already reached out to Madison County. Mark Simone is their administrator there. We are having trouble connecting our schedules, but we are talking later this week on this. So I'm very interested in practically how this is working out for them, and I will report back to the legislature. I have Mr. Dennison last.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Why did we take so long to do this? I remember bringing this up to Steve Lynch back in, I think it was like the fall of 2019 that USDA was doing this program. So what kind of timeline are we looking at going forward? How long is this study and whatnot going to take before we actually accomplish anything, I guess?
Yeah, we will have a draft of the study, I would say by August 1st of this year. So, they've started work. The community survey kicks off with the website on April 1st. That's live for 3 months. That takes us to the end of June. And the month of July, we'll be putting together the substance of the report to Cayuga County, and we'll present it to you in August of this year.
Lastly, Mr. Lattimore?
Dave, you mentioned that we've been doing some regional solar power. Chris Carrick has been over a couple times. I know you're aware of the extremely large solar project that's going into Conquest. Could we get an update from somebody in regards to what solar is doing? And I know that the internet service to that big solar project in Conquest has to be, they have to have internet in order to operate that solar project. Can you come back sometime and tell us where we are with solar?
Absolutely. I'll certainly lean on Chris and ask him to put together a presentation to you. That's certainly a very timely question. And we're working with the county right now on several solar projects directly with the county, as you know. And yes, these very large solar projects are clearly going to have a major impact. Certainly the one in Cayuga County. There's a big one down in Cortland County and Homer. I'll just leave you with this. We have a gentleman who heads up the state's large solar siting initiative with the Department of State. I think, as you know, they're setting up a review process that is led by the state. This gentleman is going to present at our board meeting at the end of June. So you'll certainly have an opportunity to hear directly from him. But in the meantime, I'll ask Chris to put together a solar presentation for the legislature.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to thank you, Mr. Botar, for coming to the meeting this evening to share the information. We will do some follow-up and some discussions on this, and we'll get back to you.
Well, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thank you.
The same, thank you. Okay, getting back to the agenda. We are still in a public hearing. If you wish to speak on the proposed law, amending the salary of the Director of Public Health, feel free to call us at 315-294-8051. We'll be monitoring the phone for the remainder of at least the hour into the next, I suppose 7:10 would be the closure of this public hearing. So please give us a call. Okay. Minutes to approve, January 5th and the 26th, 2021. Can I get a motion?
Move it, Peggy.
Okay, did you get the second? Okay. Any discussion on these? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Reappointments? Appointments and reappointments?
I don't know if they can hear you. Can you hear Sheila?
She's really quiet.
Okay.
Appointments and reappointments?
Move them.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair,
Carried. Yes?
I know that there was a couple of reappointments from Power Agency. Have we made any decision on that? Those two appointments?
I will be discussing that in my chair report.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Communications and announcements?
Are we supposed to get a copy of the letter from the sheriff? Because I never saw it.
I can send it to you, Andy.
I'd like a copy of that as well.
All right, will do, Trish. Rocking chair. Hey,
What is that?
not sure.
We got a new train set.
I think we need to talk about somebody's brain resetting.
It's a secret camera.
The toy car or something. What the hell's going on?
Okay, so now we're up to the CCC report. Is Dr. Durant with us this evening?
I am there. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, I apologize for the technical difficulties last month. That sound you're hearing is my lovely computer.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
That just today started to sound like that. So we'll be fixing it shortly. So I apologize for the sound. Good to be with you. I know it's been some time. First and foremost, I just want to say again publicly how appreciative we are for the leadership of the Department of Health, the other health leaders in the community, and certainly the legislature when it comes to the information sharing resources and just overall guidance through this pandemic. It's been important to us, as I'm sure everyone else in our community, and I recognize the countless hours and time that goes into it. And to Kathleen, the staff, night, day, weekend, we could not be more grateful for the dedicated service. It's helped make our lives as easy as they can be in such a complicated and stressful time. So just on behalf of the college, our trustees, I know our chair, Marion Brown, is with us today as well. I just want to extend our gratitude. In addition to that, we're in the middle of our spring semester. We continue to be about 90% remote. What that means in definition for the college is that about 90% of what we typically would offer face-to-face or in person, we continue to offer remotely through multiple delivery platforms, including synchronous instruction, which means point in time, just similar to this meeting, where people would sign up and be in the meeting or be in the class present and learning engaged, just like they would be in a traditional face-to-face classroom, and hybrid and other models and so on and so forth. So we recognize that many students were learning and engaged in ways that they continue to not be their most comfortable, but yet the resiliency of our student body has been impressive. Certainly the commitment to the institution and the innovation that's occurred to try to deliver as high quality education as possible in unique circumstance. Lots of compliments to our faculty and staff continue to be there. From some of the technical nuts and bolts for the college and updates on projects, the Culinary Center, you probably see some of the new signage there. In Auburn is on pace to be done in the coming weeks, and we'll be looking to open it for some appropriate activities, but really gearing up to bring in the first culinary class in the fall. Obviously, that was our intended goal this past fall, and given the impacts of COVID-19 on construction and timeliness and so forth, it just had to be delayed a year. Certainly, we are also moving forward, and I believe we're close to moving forward and getting out bid documents for our Advanced Manufacturing Institute on our Fulton campus. That project is another one that at least has given us some hope that we continue our momentum to, achieving our programmatic goals and being able to build our spaces. We continue to refine our Workforce Development Center, that most familiar by name was related to our to the Cornell Cooperative Extension Building in Auburn. And, we're really focused on trying to identify pathways to each of these projects to move them forward and to achieve the, current vision that we have for them. And so hopefully in the coming months, we'll have more information on the Workforce Development Center, updated timelines of priority and moving forward. In addition to that, this month, our Board of Trustees has been engaged in the final part of the audit. And, I'm certainly pleased to report that, at the end of the year, which ends for us back in August, for those a little less familiar, we ended up, based on lots of spending freezes and leaving vacancies open and managing as best we can through all the uncertainties that existed, we ended up in a position to, add about $900,000 or so to our fund balance. And, with enrollment declines that we've experienced this year, not hitting our numbers, and certainly with projected enrollment declines in our future across the state and the country, we continue to have to, live within our means and adjust our budgets, but certainly having, the reserves necessary to, to navigate these uncertainties that we're currently in, I think can provide us with with the best comfort possible, even though we have to plan. They don't fully exist at our disposal. So, we're continuing to work and advocate through this budget process. Some positive news for community colleges when it comes to the starting point for the executive budget. The governor had indicated restoration of some of the funds that were being withheld for this aid year of approximately for community colleges. That is about 15% of our base aid, and the request or the proposal, as it currently is in the executive budget, certainly we'll be going through the state budget process and advocacy again through the next month or so, is that community colleges would be restored to the current rate. There would be no increase, which results in a net loss of state aid across for community colleges, which is concerning, obviously. But given what we thought could have been the reality for this year, although could be a reality in our future, of course, we're hopeful that we'll continue to get the support from our elected officials and address some of our other needs. But at this point, we're hoping to have base aid restored and flat, and continue to look at other ways to support high-cost programs, workforce development, and other initiatives through our advocacy. So, really at the college, we have to continue to be focused on, at this point, in trying to develop a budget for next year, what the loss of enrollment, loss of aid, and loss of resources is going to mean for our budget development. And in the next couple of months, we'll know what those impacts will be, and we'll be communicating with you and others. And we're looking forward to, minimize the impact on students, at the same time to be able to offer a comprehensive budget within reality. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Duran, I wanted to share with you the signage across the street looks fantastic for the Culinary Center. So it's so great to see that underway in downtown.
Thank you.
Also, I was at your facility today here in Auburn, and the screening at the doors was wonderful. Folks were very efficient and very friendly, so I want to commend you on that.
I appreciate that. I should have mentioned, because we've changed since the last time we spoke. We are surveillance testing all of our on-campus employees and on-campus students weekly, and that has been a tremendous undertaking, obviously, but it is something that SUNY is doing, and we're compliant, and we're working diligently each day to try to get as close to the 100% testing in weekly. And Eileen mentioned the screening protocol. We have people at our door and a single point of entry on both campuses to screen and temperature check.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Durant? We have Legislator Lattimore and then Legislator Kerr.
Mr. Durant, good to hear from you, Doctor. As you know, the mission to Mars was pretty successful, and the Center of Excellence that we had with NASA at the college, we had the only one with our community college. The landing on Mars, you can even hear the wind of Mars. So, every NASA platform has a lot of jobs associated with it, a lot of economic growth. And I know that I brought this subject up just about every time you're present, but I'm very concerned that we don't have that. We were the only community college with that. And secondarily, the proposal by some of our federal people saying that community colleges are going to be free. Do you have any more information on what they're talking about? There's nothing free, I don't think, but education is an important part, and community colleges are utilized for cost efficiency. I used our community college when I was going through college, so being an alumni, I'm very proud of our community college. You want to give us an update on that?
Well, we appreciate your support, and as far as I'm concerned at this point, the programs related to TAP, New York State TAP, the Excelsior Scholarship Program that continues to be available for students and families, and looking at Pell and the opportunity where that may expand. Certainly, when it comes to what's available for aid for students, and related to our price point and related to perhaps family need or individual student need, that certainly helps the the possibility for student debt to be reduced or perhaps non-existent for many, making it affordable and or covered, if you will, not free, but covered in that way. As for legislative action or changes at the state level or beyond, looking at how, if there would ever be a movement for free community colleges, that would, from my view, that would require significant state legislative funding model changes to result for where those funds would go. Most community colleges in the state of New York, if you will, our student revenues today are making up somewhere between 45 and probably 53 to 4% of their overall revenues. And so if that, if you're looking at a budget like Cayuga's at $27+ million, that's a significant set of funds that would have to be brought to us from somewhere. So I think anytime that they're talking about community colleges at a state and national level when it comes to funding and enhancements and its connectivity to human resource development and economic visioning, I think it's important. I think it's vital for us to be part of that narrative. But it results major innovation and I think aspiration to have long-standing and swift changes like the ones you're talking about.
And NASA program?
The NASA program, certainly related to college academic programs, we certainly still have our GIS program. It's not as subscribed as I would hope that it could be. And that's a concern. We continue to look at it and evaluate it. And soon we'll be developing and embarking on a new strategic plan, and we'll do an evaluation and environmental scan for what programs may or may not be out there, services should be enhanced, and see which ones would rise to us for our student body. I think to be, if I'm going to be as direct as I can be globally about it, anytime we're looking at, loss of funds and loss of enrollments, high cost programs, both current ones we have and new ones, they can be of concern for their long-term viabilities. And we need to prioritize those in which we do. And we're proud of the ones that we have, and we want to make sure that we can continue to sustain the ones that are most that we have. And we'll have to be very cautious about any new ones that we add.
Thank you.
Yep.
Legislator Kerr?
Thank you. Hi, Dr. Durant.
Hello.
I was just wondering if you could present a little picture of what the Culinary Center how it will operate in terms of, I assume there's a commercial kitchen in there. Is that program going to be running kind of not 24/7, but throughout the day, or are there going to be partnerships with other restaurants in the area? What is the operational vision, I guess, for that center?
I appreciate the question because, many of you are probably familiar with a variety of other culinary programs or hospitality programs. So, first and foremost, what we need to do here at Cayuga is we need to focus on the rollout of the credit-bearing educational delivery of a culinary arts associate's degree. And, you know, our students, and when they're taking classes, as we're developing our skills and really getting our arms around our curriculum from theory and development to delivery. And, you know, when it comes to our facility focus and use for the time being, most of it will be focused on that, in addition to some created and selective non-credit offerings that will be to engage the community for educational purposes mostly. And I think that there are opportunities within that to partner and be creative in a number of ways that I think is in front of us. There is some uniqueness in the sense of, although there is a high quality commercial kitchen, and I can't wait to have a groundbreaking and show you this facility. This is a very high tech facility with top notch educational and service equipment and technologies in this space. And although we want to find our ways for it to be a community resource, we first need to make sure that we're serving all of our programmatic needs adequately, and then identify the other ways in which we can engage. But as for it to be, as for it to be an open commercial kitchen for the community at this time, that is not the priority, because we really need to ensure that we focus on, you know, getting used to the new equipment, getting our faculties trained, getting other people trained, and you know, getting it up and running. But certainly, what's priority for the next 6 months, and then what's priority in the 6 months after, a year after that, I think can change. But most of at least my focus right now is, you know, finally getting this facility open, celebrating it with our community, and then continuing to build the blocks for what it can be.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Dr. Durant this evening? Seeing none, thank you, Dr. Durant, for joining us this evening.
I appreciate the time. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda are committee reports and individual legislative reports.
Elaine, I'd like to say something if I could. This is Elaine.
Sure, we're going to do Elaine, and we'll follow up with Ben Vitale.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of bring to your attention that the last Health and Human Services Committee meeting, there was a discussion about the future of the two departments, in particular mental health and Department of Social Services, and some recommendations that had been made by Ray Bazzari for future planning. That document was circulated ahead of the meeting. That was also, I shared that written document with all the members of the legislature. And I think at this point, this is something that we need to continue the dialogue on. I'm proposing or discussing the possibility of putting together a small group, whether it be members of the Health and Human Services Committee, potentially some members of Ways and Means, or any interested legislator, to actually look more closely at the written documents, potentially come up with any questions or further information that we'd be looking for, all in anticipation of having a full dialogue with all county legislators, especially if we're going to be looking at making some changes in the current structure of those departments, and just moving the whole plan forward. So I'd like to get together and put that small group together. Again, only in an effort to identify some questions that we might have, and then to be continued with, you know, an engagement by the full legislature and them to be part of the discussion. So again, I think there is, the urgency is we do want to make, you know, these decisions before the last minute, and, you know, analyze what's the best in the best interest of the departments and the county.
Elaine, my question to you is, would you like to solicit interest from the entire body, or are you starting with your committee?
I mean, I will certainly, you know, open it up to the members of our Health and Human Services Committee. But then, yes, if anyone's interested in coming together as a small group to further digest that information, absolutely send me an email and we can get that started. Unless you and I, Aileen, want to, you know, come together and make some recommendations.
Yeah, I don't see that that's necessary. I think that it's a great idea if you'd like to be part of that process to contact Elaine directly. And then I'm sure you can report out at your committee, Elaine, and I don't have any trouble with that. If you,
Okay.
yeah, if you need any help, I certainly would help out.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Latimer, question for Elaine?
Elaine, I'm on your committee and it's very, how much of the budget does those two agencies take up?
They take a very big portion, I think, of the budget. I think DSS alone is 20-some% of the overall county budget. I'm not totally, sure of what percentage of the budget mental health is, but they are two big departments, Tim. And yes, if we're going to be looking at planning for, what makes the most sense as a transition at some point, I think all of those considerations have to be taken into account. And basically what would be the fiscal impact of changing, quite frankly, the only thing that's currently merged now is the administration. So those are all the things we would come together and look at.
I'm just saying we have to get that one right.
Yep, agreed. And thoughtfully planned out, yes.
Okay, we're going to entertain questions for Elaine next. So Trish, is this a question for Elaine? Okay. All right. Any other questions for Elaine? All right. Thank you, Elaine. Again, if you need any help with that, let me know. But I do think a deep dive is warranted. This would be a tremendous move for the county. So thank you.
Yep.
Next, we'll go to Mr. Vitale.
Good evening. Thank you. I just wanted to inform the rest of the legislators that I have spoken to Public Works Chair, Mr. Tucker, and at the next Public Works Committee meeting, I will be presenting the regional water project. We've been kind of lacking some information on it, and I've been trying to catch up and get a short presentation to at least get the information to you folks on the who, what, where, and why on the project, and really start the process of getting everybody educated and determining where this project will be going. So if you're interested and you're not on Public Works, I would ask that you join us probably right at the beginning of the meeting. And I believe Doug and Janine will be there to answer any questions that that might be asked of. Other than that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vitale. I appreciate the effort it will take to be part of that committee. We have a lot to consider in terms of the aging infrastructure and water quality needs that our county has. So I appreciate open dialogue on that. So I appreciate that. Thanks. Next, we'll go.
That we have GO, I believe it's 1 tonight, which is approving IT director for the county, and or at least advertising for it, excuse me, and setting up a committee for that hiring committee. If there are legislators that are interested in serving on a hiring committee to oversee the IT director hiring process, please let me know. I know that Tricia Kerr has expressed interest, and just wanted to give everyone the opportunity for that. Secondly is one thing that we will be taking up for government operations in March is that our Veterans Office, which is all near and dear to our hearts, has 2 full-time employees, 2 part-time employees. One of those full-time employees has been on active duty, working in COVID related issues for their military service. And so that office has been down a full-time employee for almost a year. And I plan on working with you as well as the committee to try to get that office some support upcoming here going forward. And I just want to make sure that legislators are aware of that and have an opportunity to discuss it at GovOps in March. And we'll be talking about it more then. That's it for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Legislator Foley. Okay, up next we have Legislator Kerr. You're on mute. Sorry.
There we go. Sorry.
You interrupt people when they're talking and to tell them they're muted. It's terrible.
Just two quick things. I don't think we're meeting before this event is occurring, and I just wanted to highlight the Bob Brauer Symposium that's coming up next Saturday. It's a virtual event online for 3 hours. It's free, and this is a fantastic event that really provides a lot of information about the status of Owasco Lake, the 9-element plan, some of the best practices that are happening. So I just wanted to make sure it's on everybody's radar for those who are interested. And then I just wanted to comment, there is the Ledge 1 resolution on the agenda for tonight to establish the treasurer's, a different salary for the treasurer in anticipation of looking at establishment of a finance committee or a finance department for the county. I'm not going to present the resolution alternative that I circulated to the one that we have on the agenda tonight, because I do think, having listened to some of the comments earlier before this meeting started, unless there's an essential need to do it tonight, why not put it through committee and have some dialogue and discussion around that? But I do want to voice my support for this direction of looking at establishing a finance department for the county. I think it's a really important step to establish a committee to look at it and to start working out all of the details of it. This is a recommendation in the CGR report. There's a lot of different ways to establish.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, Trish, but this is a discussion of any resolution should come during the presentation of the resolution.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but point of order that we have a place where we're going to be discussing these, and if I may respectfully request that we wait to discuss the resolutions until they're presented.
Fair enough. I'm just saying I'm not presenting anything tonight. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, any other legislative reports or committee reports tonight?
Oops.
Okay. Okay, I have my chair report for this evening. I want to begin tonight by expressing my gratitude to the legislature for your time and commitment to the county. We've continued many discussions by phone and over 8x8 in order to seek answers to questions and stay informed about county government. Our state, region, and county's COVID infection rate is decreasing at this time. And as much as I would like to return to in-person meetings, we must still remain diligent about masking, social distancing, and avoiding gatherings. I will keep you updated on restrictions as they're lifted, and as well as to any plans to reconvene our meetings here in chambers. Mr. Lattimore brought up CAPUSA. I have asked CAPUSA to do a presentation. They were not equipped or prepared to present this month, so they're going to present in March. And I've asked them to present on their history, possible projects that they've accomplished, possible future projects that they're working on. And as I would like the board and the public to be aware of CAPUSA, and I'd like to go over our investment both in the past and this year, and talk about, in practical terms, the results of the strategic plan. So that's going to be presented next month. But I think that's going to be discussed in your group if it hasn't been already. Mr. Pinckney was, and Mr. Lynch are taking that on.
With your mask, I really couldn't understand you.
Really?
Yeah. What did you? Well, I'm a senior, so my hearing is.
Go by.
So Capusa is presenting next month.
So you're gonna make your appointments then, or no?
They're going to present on everything Capusa related next month, and we can talk about the future of Capusa.
Are we gonna do appointments or no?
I have no idea what the presentation is going to be. So the idea is to wait on the presentation to get the strategic plan in practical terms. Okay. What I mentioned before about restrictions about convening here in chamber, we have announcements about the relief of some restrictions in the state beginning March 5th. We was just notified today, movie theaters will be allowed to open with strict protocols. In addition, bowling alleys, pool halls, and other facilities will be able to open also on March 5th with strict protocols. So that is a movement in the right direction, and that was just announced today. This month has been very busy with vaccination calls and advocacy. The governor made mention of streamlining vaccines to large centers in the region. Kathleen and Cuddy and I are advocating for the opposite. We've enlisted participating villages and towns to help identify residents with limited or no computer or internet access in order to create their own waiting lists for their own residents to receive vaccines. Kathleen is prepared to give the towns or villages a particular number of reserved spots to get specific residents on that list and get them in. Participating clerks will register that resident over the phone in order to obtain an appointment at a county clinic. So up until now, as this is the first move to help folks get those appointments, up until now it has been a little bit of a race on the internet or your smartphone to get an appointment. And there's been if anyone's been through the process, and I have, to register family members and elderly people I know or people with underlying health conditions that qualify. Hitting the refresh and having to go through that process has been very arduous, and it's very unfair and inequitable. So this is our attempt to try and reach folks in all areas of the county who are specifically have limited access. I was so encouraged at the participation of the towns and villages. We met with everyone on the phone, just about everyone. I will say some towns are overwhelmed or lack staff and cannot participate. That is okay. Towns and villages are doing what they can do, and that is completely acceptable. I know some towns have enlisted some part-time help, and some towns have, a clerk in their office 4 hours of a week. So that, the towns are doing what they can, and if they want to participate, they are finding ways to do so. So I appreciate the help. So if your town is not participating, they will direct you to traditional methods of signing up. In addition, it is the desire of Cayuga County to serve our vulnerable populations in place and meet them where they are in order to vaccinate. We're working closely with our state vaccine liaison to make this possible. So this has been a huge advocacy effort on the part of myself as well as Kathleen in getting out that we are a unique county. We are uniquely shaped. Our demographics are unique, and we need them to hear that we are not interested in a regional warehouse to send our residents out of county to have vaccinations. Our county is continuously requesting vaccines at a much higher rate than we are receiving. Kathleen Cuddy puts in the request and we both follow up. We'll continue to press to obtain as much vaccine as we can. Last week, no one received the vaccine due to weather delays, so that was kind of set everyone back. So we look forward to getting something on a more consistent basis. We are currently finalizing police reform and reinvention collaborative plan. also known as Executive Order 203. This has been a tremendous undertaking between the county and the city and their respective departments since late summer 2020. The public weighed in on this plan as well as stakeholders. There are survey results attached, as well as ideas for reform and continued self-assessment that this body and the sheriff will commit to. I'm excited to share this body of work with you. You will receive an electronic copy of the Executive Order 203 plan this week, I believe tomorrow. I will follow up with the next steps, but overall, the plan is that we will take a vote as a body at next month's legislature meeting. And the state deadline is April 1st, and it is to be delivered to the Division of Budget of the state by that has been a huge undertaking. I appreciate everyone being involved. I'd like to give special thanks to Elaine Daly. She has really helped out quite a bit. I also would like to thank Steve Lynch. He's also helping piece together the final plan, and he's doing a tremendous job. So I want to thank you and the public for their engagement on this. This month, we're beginning a finance committee to study the need for a separate finance department in the county. In effort to streamline operations related to the county's finances, shore up efficiencies, and work in concert with the same technology, it has been discussed over several years that the county and its taxpayers would benefit from a finance department and a finance director. A finance director would professionalize the department. We're legally bound to have a treasurer to collect taxes and oversee foreclosures and other duties. So until we move to another form of government, we would still have a county treasurer with abbreviated duties, a finance director for day-to-day operations. I have asked Jim Mormon to serve as chair and see this transition through. The committee will consist of Ways and Means chair, majority leader or designee, minority leader or designee, and the chair of government operations. Tonight, you do have a resolution before you that sets the stage for such a department by setting a committee in place to build a department and look at the finance director. We are talking about a revised resolution, and we're going to have that discussion when we get to that portion of the meeting. And I also want to mention that we do have a department head meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. I look forward to seeing the departments tomorrow. It's been a little while, so I'm excited to get caught up with you. I do also want to mention I have gotten back to starting the year off with meeting with departments, and so far I've met with a handful. They have been working through, a very trying time with, still working remotely where possible. And it's been great to catch up with them, and I look forward to hitting all the departments in the next coming weeks. So I appreciate that. Overall, this concludes my report. Please let me know if you have any questions. Mr. Lattimore?
Madam Chair, we're still under the public to be public hearing on the health.
We are.
Question for Chris. Chris, in regards to public hearings for raising the public health director's pay, I know we changed the chairman's pay from 30 to 60. Did we have a public hearing on that? And in regards to the treasurer's reduction in pay, do we not have to have a public hearing on that? Are we legally in the right position before? I know that Keith had mentioned we should bring that up later, but under the hearing, I would just want to know about salaries.
That's a good question, Mr. Lattimore. So the board's obligation is to certainly set salaries for elected and appointed officials, with a few minor exceptions that need not be mentioned this evening. When you do that, I think the statutory framework sets it up so that you do it by resolution. You set the salaries. You can go up, you can go down. The issue that comes up from time to time in Cayuga County is that, we change the salary in the middle of a term. And when that happens, you can only go in one direction. You can go up. And when you do that, it requires a local law. And by their nature, local laws require a public hearing. So you have the public hearing 1 month, or you set the public hearing, and then the following month you have the public hearing and you adopt the law. And that's subject to a permissive referendum, which, gives the citizens the ability to petition and, express their, I guess, displeasure with the local law. But in this case, because you're doing it before the beginning of the term, that's an obligation of the board to set salaries. So does that answer your question? Do you understand the difference?
Part of it, and we have a committee system, and I know Government Ops hasn't seen this resolution. Are we? Anybody can bring a resolution to the floor. Are we proper with not having a discussion on this before it's presented?
It complies with your rules of order, Mr. Lattimore. It does. It, as you just mentioned, any legislator can bring a resolution to the floor. Must be in writing. That's about the only requirement.
I'm sorry. Just for clarification, what resolution does Tim think that government operations should be seen and has not yet?
I can't answer that, Mr. Foley. I don't know.
Okay.
I believe he's talking about ledge 1. The treasurer one? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Ledge 1, Mr. Foley?
Okay, and he thinks that it will be referred back to government operations, or that it should have gone through government operations initially?
Should have gone through government operations as, just standard procedure.
Well, government operations is one committee that it could have gone through. The treasurer does report to.
Can we either move this or move on?
Right, there we go. Okay, thank you, Tucker.
Why don't we just bring Ledge 1 up now and get it done with?
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we get into resolutions? Okay, we're going to start with Ways and Means with Legislator Batman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Ways and Means has 5 resolutions, all been through committee. I offer 1 through 4 as a bundle. Number 5 is the local law referencing the salary of the director of the Department of Public Health, and we need to wait on this until the public hearing. So if I may offer 1 through 4 as a bundle at this point.
Move it, Petrus.
Second, Foley.
Okay, discussion on this, 1 through 4. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That's good. Okay, I'm gonna, before we move on to Ways and Means 5, pardon me, is there anyone who would like to speak to the public hearing? So far, we haven't fielded any phone calls. At this point, we've been at the public hearing now for nearly an hour and a half. So, Mr. Palermo, do you agree that it's time to close the public hearing?
I do, Madam Chair.
Okay. At this point, I do close the public hearing.
That being the case, Madam Chair, I move adoption of Ways and Means number 5, the adoption of local law providing for an increase in the salary of the Director of Department of Public Health.
Foley, I'll second.
Okay, discussion on WM5.
Yes, can I say something, Madam Chair?
Sure, we'll do Mr. Dennison, then Mr. Petkin.
Yeah, I'm going to be opposing this because for the same reason I oppose the raise to the chair position, and because of a number of constituents that have asked me to oppose it, because during a time when businesses and individuals have struggled due to, well, basically decisions that government at all levels have made, I don't think it's appropriate to be giving government a raise during that same time period, and neither do a lot of constituents that have contacted me.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ketcher?
Basically the same reasons as Andy. There hasn't been one constituent who asked me to vote for this, but there have been several who said no. A lot of work had to be done, but another thing that people commented on, there's a story in the Citizen just recently about the county of Hamilton having succeeded in inoculating at least one dose of the total population by 40%. And people are wondering where are we actually? We're way behind, so that's another reason other than I'm going to say no.
Any other comments for discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed, strong.
You got all those?
Yep, Ketcher, Strong, and Dennison are opposed, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to Health and Human Legislator Daily.
Sure. Health and Human Services had 13 resolutions this month. HH6 was pulled to go back to committee for some adjustments. I would offer them up as a bundle, 1 through 13 minus 6, unless anyone would like one of them broken out.
I think you're going to get a second.
Nightingale?
Okay. Discussion on this bundle. Hearing none.
I do have one discussion on HH12 and HH13. There was a plan for those that we just have to keep in mind as we move forward with those in terms of that they're part of a plan of the overall mental health, I guess, unit, and just to kind of keep that in mind so that we're not backtracking on things that we have built upon in the past and are currently building on.
I guess, Ryan, what you're saying is, there was an organizational chart that was set forward, including these 2 positions that really should be used as the reference moving forward. Is that what you mean?
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
However, Madam Chair,
Yes.
Ms. Bettman, I just want to point out that that organizational chart was for reference. We are not voting on that chart. We are voting on these positions. I want to make that clear.
Yep.
It's an important distinction.
Okay, that's noted. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Those are carried. Thank you. Legislator Foley, Government Operations? Oh, wait, we just did, no, go ahead.
Yeah. Madam Chair, thank you. Government Operations has 2 resolutions. I offer them up as a bundle unless anyone would want one singled out.
Second, Petrus.
All right, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Those are carried. Thank you, Legislator Foley. Planning, Legislator Pinckney?
Madam Chair, planning has 4 resolutions before you that have been through committees, and I'd like to offer them as a bundle, seeking approval.
All right, we'll get a second.
I'll second it. Elaine?
Okay, any discussion on these? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you so much. Okay, Public Works, Legislator Whitman.
Madam Chair, Public Works has 6 resolutions that have been through committee. I would like to offer them as a bundle unless anyone would like one singled out.
Madam Chair, if I might,
Yes?
I just wanted to point out that resolutions PW4 and PW5 draw on the fund balance, so both of those resolutions would require a 2/3 majority.
Okay, we will do those separate.
All right, I was afraid he was going to say that. I'll
Wait,
offer one,
Mr.
two.
Chair,
Yeah.
I was just wondering if it would help. Can I would offer 1, 2, 3, and 5, I think.
6.
1, 2, 3, and 5 as a bundle.
I think
Six.
it's 6.
Yes, 1, 2, 3, and 6.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that, Batman.
Second on that bundle, PW1, PW2, PW3, PW6. Any discussion on those 4 resolutions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Those are carried. Thank you.
All right, I will offer 4 and 5. Do we have to do those separately, or can we bundle those?
Separately.
I'd like to move it.
I'll do
And
4 then.
public-friendly amendment.
Okay, are we doing them separate, did someone say?
Yeah, I'm offering 4.
We'll do PW4 first.
Okay, number 4.
Okay,
It should be changed to Salmon Creek Bridge, not Little Salmon Creek.
okay. The amendment is to change it to Salmon Creek Bridge replacement versus Little Salmon Creek Bridge replacement in the town of Venice. Okay, this requires authorization for an agreement to be signed by me. So can I get a second on the amendment?
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, now we'll go back to the resolution as amended. Can we get a second on that amended resolution?
Nightingale, second.
All right. Okay, any discussion?
Was the road or the town corrected? Wasn't one of these two had the wrong town in it or something?
Yeah, it was corrected, I think.
Still the town of Venice.
Oh, maybe it
That was
wasn't.
in PW4.
The next one is.
Oh, okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That is carried. PW5.
Move it.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
And again, amendment to Town of Fleming, I believe, was in there.
Yep, I fixed it because it was done at Public Works, so I have made it changed for the certifieds and on the agenda.
So it says Town of Fleming?
Yes.
That's correct. Okay, that is correct. All right. And it's the Other Creek Bridge replacement, correct? Correct, okay. Any other discussion on PW5? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. We met the 2/3 requirement for both of those resolutions. Up next, we have judicial public safety with Legislator Vitale.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Judicial and Public Safety has 4 resolutions. All 4 have been through committee, and I would recommend them as a bundle.
Move it.
Okay, second by Foley. Any discussion on this bundle? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, lastly, we have Ledge 1. Setting the salary for Office of Hughes County Treasurer for the term beginning January 1, 2022. We have a motion?
Batman, I move it.
Second. Discussion. Pinckney.
Oh, Pinckney second? Okay. Okay, discussion.
I'd like to make a motion that it goes back to committee first.
Second. Third.
So Mr. Palermo, help me out. So
What ledge committee does a ledge resolution go back to?
If I might suggest operation, because then it will go through both government operations and ways and means.
Which one does it go through, though? Does it typically go through ways, Chris?
The
Salaries.
legislative resolution.
In your rules of order, salaries falls under the Ways and Means Committee, as does the Treasurer's Department.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I would think that, unless this has, I mean, our county attorney is telling us that it's supposed to go through Ways and Means. I don't know why it would come to government operations, but I'm not opposed to moving it tonight and moving forward on it, but I think it should go through Ways and Means.
So, Mr. Palermo, if there's, I guess, I don't know how that works, so maybe you can guide us here.
A second.
The resolution is on the table. If there's a motion and a second for the resolution, it is a legislative resolution, which certainly can be brought. I believe Mr. Dennison's motion was perhaps a motion to refer to committee, without identifying the committee, but that's how I would interpret it. It didn't seem a motion to table. It didn't sound that way. It sounded like a referral to committee.
Motion to refer to Ways and Means. Okay, do you want to make that as an official motion, Mr. Dennison? If you've decided that that's the committee to go to?
That's fine.
Okay, was there a second on that motion? Yes.
Second.
Oh. Okay. And discussion on the motion.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Lattimore, and right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're contemplating changing the finance committee. I mean, this is a countywide election, and I know that Chris Peters is studying some of the different formations of government, like having a county elected executive and changing our charter. Would this fall into some of that study? I mean, it's kind of a quick action, for it to come up tonight. I mean, you just walked us on the floor tonight. I don't understand that kind of. I've been up here for going on 12 years, and they do walk them on every once in a great while. When somebody is in need, I think that aging has a resolution tonight that actually helps people. So I think that going through the normal process on this type of thing would be a good governmental action.
So I can tell you this resolution was shared via electronic with the legislature on Friday. And this is aimed at an understanding for anyone who's contemplating running for office in Cayuga County, who will be assuming this office in January 22, is under the full knowledge, transparent knowledge that we are in the middle of and studying for a finance department in the county. And that would radically change the office of treasurer and reduce responsibilities. So we certainly don't want to have anyone start a campaign for a county-wide office, as that is a huge commitment. I think Mr. Orman can tell us that. And then have us change course on them later in the year. So the idea to get this out was that due to the change in campaign laws in New York State, the petition process is starting March 2nd. So that date comes before any committee meeting. So I wanted to make sure that this information was out before anyone assumes petitions or designations, as that process has begun as soon as this past weekend.
Well, Madam Chair, we've had a full-time treasurer, and I think he's done a good job. He's increased our bonding rating, saved us millions of dollars. I think we did some forensic accounting on different billing systems that brought in, $600,000 on one. I know that Elaine had one on the health that brought in another $1 million. I think that the treasurer in the finance group that we have now has done an excellent job. We're trying to improve our overall financial standing.
I don't disagree with you. I do know that the development of a finance department in the county would lead to a far more efficient government. We are a $152 million organization. Currently, we have accounting going on in departments operating in silos. And I think Mr. Orman, I believe our budget director, I believe the deputy treasurer and the deputy treasurer too, as well as many people in various departments would tell you that we can streamline a lot of this and look for even more efficiencies and become a more successful department in the county, as well as we will operate with under technology. And there are various levels of technological abilities. And I guess directions and pursuits of different departments, and having them fall under one finance director, as I've been told. This isn't something that's came to me in a dream. This is something that I've been told that it was good to pursue in the county. Mr. Orman, I see you smiling. So he is something that has been brought up to me. It's been brought up since I've been on the ledge, and it's been brought up to probably every other chairman that's been there. So the idea was we're at a crossroads. We're at a change of this elected position that's a four-year term. If we would like to maintain the status quo, then I say, don't do anything. If you would like to make a change, that's up to this body to make that change. I'm not forcing a change for you folks to adapt. This should come from you. Okay, so this is not Aileen McNabb Coleman idea group direction. This is the direction of the county. So this was brought forward to put folks on notice that we are looking to pursue new directions. We're looking to adopt a charter county, perhaps. We're looking to investigate that. We're looking to investigate what a finance department would look like. Now, if this finance committee began meeting, began discussions, began studying, we don't know exactly what the end result might be. But we know that it's probably very likely that a finance director is a necessary movement for the county. Under a charter, a comptroller may be very necessary for a county. So, we also went through the CGR report a couple years ago. It was recommended in that report that we also look to pursue this and decide, what do we want? Do we want a finance department? Do we want to continue with the treasurer's office? So this, there's nothing at play here except for being open and transparent, so that folks know what to assume. It is completely up to this body what you want to do to move forward tonight.
Well, I mean, the CGR report is nice, but I didn't agree with everything in there. One of them is.
Before people get their hands up.
I'm sorry? Oh. We're going to do Mr. Petcher, and then I'm going to work down to Mrs. Daly next. Mr. Petcher?
Madam Chair, this is a much too important decision to make on the spur of the moment. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We don't know what the salary is going to be. We don't know what this person or what the treasurer is going to do in the future. Is it going to be a token position where he just signs the bonds or whatever? Is it going to be more involved? This does not make any sense. And I move that this matter be tabled to the committee that.
So we had the motion and we're in the discussion.
Right.
So I'll second.
We already have the motion to table. Yep. To Ways and Means, and this is the discussion on that motion.
Okay, so we'll continue the discussion.
Okay, tabling takes precedence, I believe, doesn't it?
Motion to table does take precedence over a motion to commit to a standing committee. Yes, that's correct.
I'll second.
Okay, do we have a second to table? Any discussion on that? Did we discuss that?
Table to where? You can't just table.
Table to Ways and Means. Table to Ways and Means.
So
Okay.
what is the difference between this motion and the motion to refer to Ways and Means that was made before? Just point of order.
I believe a motion to table would keep it with the legislature. You'd address it next month. To commit to a standing committee refers it back to a committee for further deliberations and then a representation to the board.
What is this motion? to table until next month? That's what I don't understand. What is the motion that's unique from the other motion?
Is it
That's
just
my
a
question.
legislature meeting?
Table, so Ways and Means, yeah.
So,
Well, I think, Chris Palermo, can you clarify if he motions to table, then it would come back to the legislature meeting?
It would still be with this body. That would be correct.
No, his motion is to table to Ways and Means. That's what I asked, and that's what he said.
Yeah, Dennison wanted the motion to refer to committee.
What is the motion? Not what our attorney thinks the motion was. What was the motion made by the member of this body?
That was by Dennison to refer to committee. Then he was asked the question, which committee, said Ways and Means.
So it was table, and then it was tabled to Ways and Means. And it's because we used the word table and not refer, correct, Mr. Palermo?
it was tabled to no direction, though.
I think Mr. Petcher needs to answer that. I don't know.
It was tabled the Ways and Means. I mean, we all heard it. It's not the
not the first one.
rocket.
First one was by Dennison.
The first
I
one
was
was
asked and I said yes, Ways and Means.
So we have two motions on the floor to do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand. I thought that's what the first motion did. Whether you call it refer or table, that's a little bit of a technicality. I think the motion is to table it to Ways and Means. I think that's what we're discussing, right?
correct.
Making extra sure it gets there.
I'm going to let Mr. Palermo guide us.
Specifically, the rules of order state to lie on the table. There's no requirement that it be tabled to any particular date. However, when you lie it on the table, it's presently on the floor here in front of the body. You lie it on the table, it can just sit there. It can sit there for months. Somebody can bring it back. It could be tabled till later in the meeting. I don't think that there's any requirement to refer to another committee.
No, but that was his motion. That's my point. It's not a requirement, but that was the motion.
Right. That's why I said Mr. Petcher would need to answer. I guess I didn't catch the full text of his motion. I apologize for that. I heard table. But there's a distinction in the two motions, which is why they have such a difference in priority, I guess.
Do we need Mr. Petcher to repeat his motion? Is that and be clear, or?
I'd like to know where we're going to table to for discussion.
Okay, can I just say that Mr. Petcher's motion, I think as everyone heard it, was to table the resolution to Ways and Means Committee. If there's something that is erroneous with that, please let us know. Otherwise, we can vote on it and kind of move forward.
Well, let us discuss it before we vote.
Okay. So, Mr. Petcher, did you want to table? Did you say table to Ways and Means? Okay, he's agreeing with that statement. I wanted affirmative to that. Okay. So, Mr. Palermo, we have a motion to table the Ways and Means and a second to that.
I'll call the question.
No, I oppose to call. I want to discuss this, and if we're going to call the question, I want to vote on the question as opposed to voting on the tabling. We need to talk about this before we table it.
I don't think that we do that. Is that right?
I think we can. Well, I don't know if we follow Robert's rules. We
If I
can
make a
under
motion-
Robert's rules. You can vote on a request to call the question. It's
If I
discretionary,
may,
but you can.
if Mr. Petcher's, I hate to do this, Mr. Dennison had a motion to commit to a standing committee. Please correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. Ways and Means. Then if Mr. Petcher said he wanted to table to Ways and Means, that's not accurate. You're either referring it, you're committing it to Ways, or you're tabling it here. It's one or the other. If you're tabling it, it takes priority. If his motion was to commit back to Ways, that's the exact same motion Mr. Dennison made. I don't know which one is. I think I do now. If he said table to Ways, he meant refer it over, I assume. That's the same motion that Mr. Dennison made. To Mr. Batman's question, the second highest priority is third is to call the question. It is listed in your rules of order as a motion. So technically it does need a first, a second, there's discussion and a vote on the motion to call the question. I know in the past, we've sort of let that slide, but Mr. Batman is correct. It does take a motion, a second, and discussion to call the question. Does that help?
So, thank you. Legislator Peters called the question. Was there a second?
I'll second it, Vitale.
Second by Vitale. Discussion on calling the question. I have all the questions, by the way, but I don't know. I'm not going to go through that. So if we all could maybe put your hands down and then we'll put them back up, because right now we're talking about discussing calling the question, I guess, just to be clear. Mr. Whitman and then Mr. Orman. Actually, I'm sorry, Mr. Orman, I'm going to go with just the legislators here tonight for this right now. Mr. Whitman.
I don't know what question we're calling. Are we calling Mr. Dennison's question or Hans's question? We have two on the floor, right?
Right.
I don't even know what we're discussing. I don't
Ladder.
know what question has been called.
Are you having fun, Mr. Whitman? So we're
A little bit.
it's the latter, Mr. Palermo, correct?
I believe the discussion is on Mr. Petrus's motion to call the question.
That's the
If I made a motion to adjourn, that would take precedent over all of it, right?
That is correct.
Okay, I have hands up from Mr. Dennison. Correct.
Yeah, I don't think we should call the question because we need to get this discussed. And the only reason why I wanted to move it to ways was because we're talking about a salary for this position, but yet we're not set with a salary for the new position and what exactly each position's jobs are going to be. I think they should go hand in hand, not one and then the other one maybe a month or two from now.
Okay, any other discussion on calling the question? Okay. Pardon? Well, Mr. Palermo said that there's a first, second, and discussion. I know this is like brand new to us. I know. I agree with you. It's the first time we're kind of doing that. All right. So hearing no further discussion, we're going to vote on whether or not we're going to call this to question. Okay. We'll just do roll call. Yeah. I think that's a good idea. You need some order in here.
So just for clarity, this is the call the question for motion to table to waive.
No.
Yes, we're not tabling. We're calling it. We're voting on whether or not we want to vote on tabling, or we're voting whether we want to end discussion. It's a motion to end debate.
Right. Okay.
Great.
Dr. Whitman,
No.
Andy Dennison,
Who the hell knows? Because I don't even know what the hell we're doing.
Clarify it.
Yes or no, Andy?
Do you want to call the question yes or no, Dennison? I mean, that's basically what it is.
Well, what the hell are we voting on next after this then? That's what I want to know.
We're going to discuss after this if it goes down.
We'd be voting on the table. If you vote to call the question, then we'd be voting on the table. If you don't call the question, then we would have discussion on after tabling.
That's correct.
No.
okay. Ben Vitale,
Yes.
Chris Petrus,
Yes, it's clear we need more time to discuss this in committee.
Paul Pickney,
No.
Keith Batman,
No.
Hans Petcher,
Yes. Yes.
yes,
Whisper?
Mark Strong. Mark Strong. You lose him?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Heidi Nightingale.
Yes.
No.
Elaine Daly. Elaine Daly. She muted.
Oh, she's muted, so.
Elaine Daly.
No.
Thank you. Tricia Kerr.
No.
Tim Lattimore.
Yes.
Michael Didio,
No.
Ryan Foley,
No.
No. Defeated.
Start discussing.
Okay, Mr. Palermo. I'm gonna let you direct traffic now.
Well, then, if the question's not called, you still have your motion, Mr. Dennison's motion to commit to committee. So I guess you're discussing.
Tabling is next.
Pardon? Tabling.
Tabling is next.
So Mr. Petchers was next.
Well, Dennison made his first.
Oh.
The fact that Mr. Petcher used the word table when he's saying to send it to Ways and Means doesn't make it a tabling motion. The number 10 in your rule says to commit to a standing committee, which is exactly what I take table to Ways to mean. Is really to commit it to a committee. To table a resolution means it just stays with the legislature. You're just going to move on from it. You're just going to let it sit there. It's not going to go anywhere. You're not voting. You just maybe you'll bring it up next month, maybe never. But you're not sending it to another committee. That's the difference between committing to a committee and tabling. Tabling to a committee is kind of confusing the two.
Do you need?
You're tabling it.
Do you need him to redact his motion?
Well, that's why I need him to restate it. I think Mr. Foley clarified that the motion was to table to Ways and Means. If that's a referral to the Ways and Means Committee, then it's the same motion as Mr. Dennison's. You can say it's Mr. Petcher's, it's the same thing.
Okay, I just wondered though, procedurally, because it's layered. One said one thing and one said the other. Even if it's the same thing, I thought we had to handle them one at a time.
No, the same motion, having multiple motions that do the same thing, I don't know how you prioritize those.
Okay, Mr. Petcher's going to withdraw his motion.
Second withdraws also. I'll second.
And the second
Withdrawals.
withdraws by Mr. Lattimore. So that refers us, do we have to vote on that?
No, if someone withdraws a motion, you don't have to vote on it.
Thank you. We're going to go back to Mr. Dennison's initial motion to refer, to Ways and Means for further discussion. We had that motion. We had the second by.
I'll second it. If nobody
No,
else.
it's already on the floor. Let's not get more confused.
I think I seconded it.
By Mr. Petcher. Okay, that was seconded by Mr. Petcher. Now we'll have discussion on tabling, referring to Ways. Okay.
Well,
all right, I'm going to start with Mr. Palermo. Mr. Petrus, and then we'll go to Legislator Kerr, and then Mr. Pinckney. Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Petrus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this fiasco exemplifies why we need to take a deep breath, move through and discuss this further. I support this in concept. As everyone else has said, the CGR has recommended it. We've talked about professionalizing our county, $152 million budget. But as evidenced by tonight's misunderstandings, I think it would behoove us all to take a deep breath and discuss this further.
Okay, up next we have Legislator Kerr.
Yeah, I have no issue with referring it to Ways and Means. I definitely support this. So I just wanted to say that, and I guess that's primarily it. I don't. The other thing I wanted to say was I don't think we should be including the salary in this. I feel like we should be going through this planning process with the committee. I like that approach. I like who you've identified for being on that committee. But I feel like the salary itself maybe should be considered after we really take into consideration the full picture and what the actual duties would be for the treasurer in a reduced capacity, if that's the direction that we go. So
Legislator Pinckney and Legislator Batman.
Yeah, so I'm hoping and suggesting that by Ways and Means, anybody with any kind of questions or any kind of structured questions, please put their fishing poles down and bring those questions to the meeting to be discussed thoroughly. And then I would like everybody to reach out to our treasurer, who has a very strong opinion of developing this. So maybe he can lead a conversation and some questioning that may end up coming to Ways and Means prior.
Okay, we're going to do Legislator Batman.
Yeah, thank you. I'm against sending this back to Ways for several reasons. One is that it's disingenuous for anyone in this body to say that this has not been vetted for years. We first started talking about this when Mr. Petra was on the legislature the first time. We didn't make a decision, granted, but we talked about it. Over the years, we've talked about it. Over the years, we decided that we needed a finance department. Over the years, we've concluded that $160 million organization that has no financial director, no one in charge of the finances is a huge mistake. So we have talked about it. The only question is how we're going to move forward. Sending it back to Ways and Means, what does that do? Between now and Ways and Means, are we going to have an epiphany? Are we going to all of a sudden come up with new information? Are we going to have new insights? No, we're not. We've decided that we need to go in this direction. The only issue is when, and what do we do with the treasurer? The idea here is that, as it says in the resolution, the treasurer's job will be reduced, therefore the salary could be reduced. If the issue is we're not ready to determine how much the treasurer's salary should be, then maybe we just ought to modify this to say that the resolve that the salary of the Cayuga County treasurer will be reduced in accordance with the reduction in responsibility or duties as defined once the finance department is done. The advantage of doing this is, as our chair said, it says now, before we have any candidates, now before it becomes politicized, now before it's aimed at a person, that look, here's our plan. We need a finance department. We've said it for years. We didn't want to do it while we had a treasurer in office. There's not going to be a treasurer in office January 1st. We are going in this direction. Be clear, if you're going to run for this office, that it's not going to be what it is now. It simply is fair notification to let people know. And again, the idea of postponing. What I've heard is this: I've heard people speak and say, "Oh, I'm in favor of a finance department, but I want to spend another month doing what? Talking about how we're in favor of a finance department." I mean, we need to move on this, and we need to move on it now. We need to move on it before individuals, personalities, or politics are involved. And again, I will offer an amendment to this that says, instead of resolve that the salary shall be, resolve that the salary of the Cayuga County treasurer shall be reduced in accordance with the reduction in the duties.
I'll second
That's
that
my
motion.
modification.
Yep. We have an amendment on the floor and a second. Discussion on the amendment.
Wait.
No,
I got my hand up.
I've got some discussion.
on the amendment. Is that true? Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Dennison and Mr. Whitman.
You say me?
Yes.
Okay. My problem with this amendment, my problem with the reason why I wanted more discussion on this is, you say we, Keith. Well, maybe not everyone's we. I've had people asking me, what's the finance department going to cost? Well, it's kind of hard to give them an answer when we're willing to set or estimate, what the treasurer is going to be, but we don't know the duties. We don't know the duties of the new position and all that. I mean, that's why I said before, I think these things go hand in hand. I'm not saying I'm completely against a finance department, but we need to do it all together and know exactly where we're at, so that we have transparency for the public to know where we're at.
Mr. Whitman? Legislator Whitman?
Sterling,
He's there. I think you're muted.
No.
Oh, there you are. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was saying, just to echo Andy there, I don't know who Keith Swee is, but I'm certainly not included in it. And I've been around here longer than Keith. There's been a little bit of murmurs. Maybe there's been a lot of discussion between Keith and his wees. I was not included in that discussion. I don't know where it happened. I would certainly like to have more discussion on this. And I don't think more discussion is a bad thing. I mean, we certainly discuss a lot of other less important things a lot longer. So I don't see what another month of discussion and question answering is going to hurt.
Mr. Petter?
This amendment goes up the initial meaning or the initial reasoning for this very resolution, okay? Because now instead of having a salary that somebody can see, there's no salary that nobody knows, so it negates the reason for this resolution.
I concur with the well-spoken conservative.
Terribly spoken, but.
Mr. Batman? Did you have your hand up, Mr. Batman?
No. We'll let people discuss. I'm trying to understand the what everyone's saying. Thanks.
Legislator Daley?
Yeah, I just to the point of without a salary, I guess there's two things. Is the objection the resolution sets forward the finance department that's already been that's a given? Is it that it's not an investigation to one? Is it the salary that's being set? I think going back, Aileen, the initial intent was to put people on notice who are interested in potentially running, that we are as a group looking at changing the potential structure within the county to a finance department, which would result in changes to the job and to the salary of the treasurer in a likely way. Is the resolution too forceful? I mean, has it already drawn those conclusions? I'm trying to understand the objections.
Okay. Other discussion? Okay. Mr. Palermo, do you have something to add?
With respect, you have two motions. One is a motion to commit, one's a motion to amend. The motion to commit is the higher priority. That vote would happen first. If it gets committed, obviously, there is no motion to amend. If it does not get committed to Ways and Means, the motion to amend would proceed.
Okay, so we still have the first vote to commit it to Ways and Means to go. Correct? Mr. Palermo?
Yeah, I
Yes,
think that's what you're saying. Yeah,
That's correct. I'm sorry.
I'm ready to vote. I don't want to call the question because I don't want to have to vote on that, but is anyone object to voting?
So Mr. Palermo is suggesting what we're actually voting on is committing it or referring it to Ways and Means, correct?
Right. That's what he's suggesting.
I want to be sure that everyone's aware that we actually can't vote on the amendment.
Madam Chair.
Does everybody else know these rules? And maybe I don't. Everybody is confused as I am. Because I feel like
Well, I'll slug out the rules with Mr. Palermo tomorrow.
I'm sure you will.
In my own defense, I have dual screens, one with the rules of order and one with all your smiling faces. So I am reading verbatim. I don't have
Good for you.
the memory.
So the referral to Ways and Means is that salary, not with Keith's suggestion as to, we'll make up a salary later.
So
We can't
That's
amend the
good.
motion after it's passed.
well, we have to, if we commit it, if it works and we commit it, you can't amend it.
Yeah.
You're right. So, Mr. Palermo, and we have to go back to the motion to refer. We're actually just moving this exact resolution to that committee for discussion and movement, correct?
Well, unless the people that made that motion want to withdraw it, then we can vote on my amendment. But yeah, I agree with Chris actually on this.
All right. So, Mr. Palermo, so that we're moving this.
I'm still smiling, right? I'm just smiling so much right now. I'm sorry. What was the question? I apologize, Madam
I
Chair.
did ask you, to be fair, I did ask you, Mr. Batman answered for you, so I just I'm gonna go back to you, Mr. Palermo. We are
Mr.
moving
Dennison's,
Ledge 1 as it stands to Ways and Means.
that was Mr. Dennison's motion, I believe, yes.
We had a motion and a second discussion. Are we ready to vote on this? I agree. Okay. Okay.
So this is Andy's motion?
We are gonna roll call this. Yes. Okay.
So this is the motion to refer back to Ways and Means.
Okay.
All set, Amanda?
Yep.
Tucker Whitman,
Yes.
Andy Dennison,
Yes.
Ben Vitale,
No.
Chris Petras,
Yes.
Paul Bigbee,
No.
Keith Batman,
No.
Hans Patrick,
Yes.
Mark Strong,
Yes.
Heidi Nightingale,
No.
Elaine Daly,
No.
Tricia Kerr,
Yes.
Tim Lattimore,
Yes.
Michael Didio,
No.
Brian Foley,
No.
Aileen McDad Coleman,
No. Defeated.
Get the pizza.
now you have to vote on the
On the amendment. So now we're voting on the amendment offered by Mr. Batman. Mr. Batman, would you, actually it says resolve that the salary for the treasurer be planned and developed with the committee diminishing the role and therefore the salary of the treasurer. Is that correct?
Yeah, that the salary of the treasurer will be reduced in accordance with the diminishment of the responsibilities, and the role as the yes, that's it. And we'll do that when we do the budget or whenever. We don't have to define when, but it's the expectation that the salary will be reduced based upon a reduction of the responsibilities.
Okay, we had a motion and a second on that. Further discussion? Is that warranted?
Just to be, I'm sorry, Tim, just to be clear, your motion is to remove reference to the salary and replace it with with those words, correct?
Yes, correct. So that we don't have specific salary, but rather an acknowledgement that the salary will be reduced based upon the reduction of responsibilities.
Okay.
Mr. Palermo, does the title of this need to be changed?
I'm sorry, give me 1 second to flip back to that screen. I'm still on my rules of order.
I mean, we're setting.
Yes, I would recommend it, yes.
Okay. Do you recommend a salary? I mean, a title? No, it's too late now for me. Or Mr. Batman, do you have?
Yeah. What about the intent to establish the an office of finance or a finance office, director of finance, and in modifying the duties and salary of the county treasurer? What about something like that? Does that work, Chris?
I think that works fine. It reflects the content of, I believe, the resolution as amended.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so we have the new title and then the resolve. Got a first on this. Do we have a second on this further amendment that we've, the title? Mr. Pinckney? Okay. Discussion. Mr. Lattimore.
Madam Chair, the reason for this resolution coming here tonight is to set some parameters so that people who are running for office know exactly what, so this is gonna, their salary is gonna be determined later by a finance committee?
Hopefully.
Well, before the election, I hope.
Well, salaries are always set by the legislature, not a committee, but just a point of clarification.
Yes, exactly. They would be recommended to the legislative body, and the body would vote on this. And this was all in the communication that I had originally sent last week on this topic. Further discussion, we have Mark Strong.
Yeah, I'm looking at these salaries. I just want to be clear that these salaries have been no way published for the public to see as of right this moment, correct?
No, this is a public document. Everyone can see this.
It's the first time.
No, I'm asking, this document has not been seen public as of yet, correct?
No, this document is public today, right now.
On the agenda.
And was attached to the agenda, right?
These salaries that I see, the public is already aware of them, correct?
But it's changing.
It's
on the website.
Yeah, it's on the website. It's on this, attached to this agenda for this meeting tonight. Yes.
But Aileen, if this resolution is amended and the salary is removed, the certified resolution will not have reference to them. Is that
No.
correct?
That's correct. Does that answer your question, Mr. Strong?
Well, like I said, my issue is we've put these numbers out there, and now all of a sudden we're pulling them back, regardless of whether we're justified in pulling them back or not. But the fact of the matter is, the public has already seen these numbers to entice maybe somebody that wants to run or isn't running. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, these numbers are already public. I just, it doesn't make sense to me. But if that's what everybody wants to do, I'm fine with it.
Well, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
It's not a matter of what we want to do, Mr. Strong. It's a matter of kind of, transparent government. If we have a proposal to do something, that proposal needs to be public. We can vote it down, or we can approve it, but there's no way we can discuss public business without making things public. I mean, I agree with you. It sometimes is messy and uncomfortable. You're absolutely right. It's sometimes very difficult, but it's the system. Our alternative is to keep everything private until we're ready to go public and vote on stuff. And no, it's hard. I agree.
Mr. Dennison?
Yeah, if you look on YouTube, only 10 people are watching anyhow, so they're the ones that could see this. But anyways.
That's right, Andy. I agree.
That was my purpose of, another month's discussion to try to figure out exactly what the salary would be for what jobs each one, whether it be this position, the treasurer, or the new finance director, or whatever name you want to give it, to have full transparency. So I guess now the people that are running know that, well, the salary is going to be cut, just not by how much, unless they're one of the 10 that are watching on YouTube.
Mr. Foley?
What are you doing?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to call the question, please.
Okay. We have a motion to call the question. Do we have a second?
Second, by Sally.
Any discussion on calling the question? Okay, we're going to call this to question. We're going to roll call to that, or yes. I don't know.
No, for the calling the question, I just would request a dispensing with the roll call and just A or nay. I bet everyone's ready to call the question.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's great. Now we're going to go back to the resolution as amended. We have an amended title, amended resolve. We had a first, we had a second, we had some discussion. Now we're going to vote. Okay, we're gonna roll call vote. As amended.
And this is with no salary.
I'm sorry, this is, we have to do the amendments first and then do the resolution as amended.
Right,
Okay, so we're gonna vote on the amendments.
No, we voted on the amendments. We voted on the amendment and it was approved.
I didn't get that.
No, we didn't do that yet.
We didn't?
I don't believe we did either.
No.
No.
Okay.
The question, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on this as amended. Roll call vote on it.
As amended?
As
Wait.
amended. Oh, the amendments, I'm sorry. On the amendments, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
can I just get a clarification to Keith's point of what the First Amendment was and what the Second Amendment was that we voted down each time? I want to make clear.
you want to make clear the amendments he's proposed for ledge one.
No.
No. The amendments that we've already voted on, that we voted down thus far, just so we're all clear. I think the first one was to
Move it to Ways and Means, right?
right, and that I think that was voted down. I thought the second one was to
Table.
Sandy concurred.
Yeah.
The second one, Tom concurred.
Jesus.
So what we defeated the call of the question, and then we defeated the referring to committee.
Yeah.
And Hans had withdrawn his motion to table, so that was not voted on.
Right.
okay, good.
The amendments are still on the floor, and we have not voted
So
on
now we're voting on the amendments.
the amendment.
Yeah. And it is a single amendment, by the way, because I consider that as the mover of the amendment. I consider that second change of title simply a friendly amendment. So it's all one, I would suggest.
And the amendment is to remove the salary language.
Exactly. And to change the title.
Okay. What title is it again? No, what's the title change you're recommending?
Did you get it, Amanda?
I believe I got intent to establish finance department and finance director and modify the treasurer's department.
Yeah, the treasurer's salary. Yeah.
The treasurer's salary.
Yes.
Okay, all set? Okay, roll call.
Tucker Whitman,
No.
Andy Dennison,
No.
Ben Vitale,
Yes.
Chris Peters,
No.
Paul Pickney,
Yeah.
Keith Batman,
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Sorry.
Hans Fletcher,
No.
Mark Strong. Mark Strong,
No.
Heidi Nightingale,
No.
Yes.
Elaine Daly,
Yes.
Tricia Kerr,
Yes.
Tim Lattimore,
No.
Michael Didio,
Yes.
Ryan Foley,
Yes.
Haley McNabb Coleman.
Yes. Passed. So then resolution. So now, okay, so now we have to pass the resolution as amended?
As amended.
Okay, we're gonna roll call that, yes. I'm sorry, I meant, we are gonna roll call that. Yes, we are. You make my blood sugar's low. Okay.
So this is the
Funny.
roll call on the resolution as amended.
Tucker Whitman,
No.
Andy Dennison,
No. I bet you it'll be the same.
Ben Vitale,
Yes.
Chris Peters,
No.
Paul Pickney,
Yes.
Keith Batman,
Yes.
Hans Petrich,
No.
Mark Strong,
No.
Heidi Nightingale,
Yes.
Elaine Daly,
Yes.
Tricia Kerr,
No.
Tim Lattimore,
No.
Michael Didio,
Yes.
Ryan Foley,
Yes.
Elaine McBeth Coleman.
Yes. Pass.
So
Motion
now,
to adjourn.
if there's no other business,
Second.
I would move to adjourn. Oh, someone already did. Yeah.
Keith, and Aileen, I do have what I hope to be very easy business under new business, if I could.
You may.
Okay. I have circulated a resolution. I just.
They have to pull back their motion to adjourn then?
I'll remove my second.
I'm just saying, there was a motion to adjourn in a second, and that's got to be pulled back or voted on or something, doesn't it?
Okay.
Mr. Palermo?
That would be correct.
Okay. So,
I had Whitman and Foley.
so what happens if we just do it? If they want to withdraw?
I was Beatrice. I was the second. I would draw my second.
Okay.
Thank you.
I did too. Mr. Foley, we have you down as making the motion?
Sure did.
In what? I didn't make a motion to adjourn, but
Whitman and the motion.
Oh, Mr. Foley is the second. Mr. Whitman, motion and Foley second?
I'll pull back whatever we got to pull back to have Elaine talk. If I'm the guy on the record, is
Okay, and then Mr. Whitman,
Control.
did he talk? I couldn't hear. I can't really. Legislator Whitman, did you want to pull back? Are we
On your adjournment.
on your adjournment?
All right, I'm out of here.
this is
Make it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we were.
Okay, Mr. Palermo, it looks like Tucker made the motion and he has left the meeting.
I thought the second was withdrawn, so if you don't have another second, the motion doesn't proceed.
Okay. Okay. All right. We'll go back to Legislator Daley. Thank you for your patience, everyone. You're muted, Elaine.
I had circulated a resolution out after I had discussed it at Ways and Means, that it would be coming. I sent the resolution and the authorization to fill form. What I'd like to introduce on the floor is asking for the authorization for the chair and the director of office for the aging to hire a full-time temporary principal account clerk typist, specifically to cover a current medical leave of absence. The position that's critical to the daily operations of the meal program. It processes new referrals, client changes, all related to data entry and billing and claiming for the meal program. Brenda had made the case that she didn't feel that she would be able to manage this program without this temporary fill behind. So there was this resolution and the authorization to fill, and I'm asking for its consideration for a vote tonight.
Yeah, I'll second. Batman.
Any further discussion on OFA resolution?
Do you have a rough timeline?
The initial resolution, Andy, was for about a 90-day, a 12-week medical leave of absence. But again, there's no crystal ball, but the money that has been moved from one budget item to the other is reflective of that 90-day period and the fringe benefits associated with a temporary position.
That's why I was curious if it went past 90. Was there other money somewhere?
Again, that's why I think the total language about if after 90 days, we would have to revisit that. Brenda had made available funding from another budget line that she feels that is state and federal funds that can be moved basically on some expenses that she's not going to incur. So we would have to readdress that at the 90-day mark. I know Brenda's here if she wants to say anything different around that.
No, hey, excuse me. If Aileen wants someone to speak other than a legislator, she can do so, but we individually cannot call on people of the public or department heads.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter what she says, respectfully, the motion says the money is for 90 days. That's the motion. It doesn't matter what I think, you think, or anyone else does. When the money's gone, it's gone. It's got to be revisited.
You should be a chair.
Agreed.
Okay, any questions from the legislature? Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? That is carried. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
We hear a second.
I will not rescind that.
Please don't rescind it. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, thanks.
Good evening. Thank you.
Oh, that was easy.
Pack some snacks.